At Harrington and Company, 27 floors above the city, a room full of polished executives prepares for the pitch of a lifetime. One meeting, one investor, one moment that could change everything. Then he walks in. A black man in his mid-60s, maybe 70, scuffed boots, a worn work jacket, a tattered notebook in hand. He barely says a word, and they laugh him out of the room. What they don't know is that he's the investor. And by the time they realize it, everything will have already changed. Before we start, like this video and comment where you're watching from. Your support helps us bring more powerful stories to life. Now, let's begin. The air on the 27th floor was cooler, thinner, successfully filtered and perfumed with eucalyptus and quiet tension. Every executive knew what today meant. Their quarterly targets, their annual bonuses, even their futures could pivot on a handshake that hadn't yet happened. The identity of the investor was still a mystery. Only the CEO, Arthur Welling, had met him, briefly, weeks ago. Since then, the floor had been a quiet war zone of speculation and behind-the-scenes jockeying. Amanda Crane leaned against the glass conference table, tablet in hand, flipping through slides that pulsed with numbers and buzzwords. Disruption, scale, agility. She had practiced her segment 5 times in the mirror and once in her car that morning. The stakes were real. "We land this deal," she said to no one in particular. "We go global within 18 months. Across the room, James Temple gave a soft chuckle. "We? Or you?" Amanda didn't look up. "Some of us believe in team wins. Others just believe in keeping their title while everyone else does the lifting." The room tensed. Their rivalry was no secret. Amanda was newer, sharper, rising fast. James was old guard, intimidating, and clinging to power like a dying monarch. Before the tension could escalate, the door opened, and everything paused. He stood there in the doorway, unassuming, weathered, out of place. Mid-60s, maybe 70, dressed in navy workwear, the kind used by maintenance crews. His boots were scuffed, his jacket worn and patched. He carried nothing but a small notebook, creased and frayed at the corners. Amanda blinked, unsure. Was someone playing a prank? She started. The man offered a polite smile. "Mind if I sit in?" "On what?" Amanda asked slowly. "The investor meeting." Laughter bubbled from someone near the coffee bar. James stepped forward, jaw tightening. "Sir, I think you've taken a wrong turn. The janitorial closets are on 15. This floor is executives only." The man didn't bristle. He simply nodded. "I was told to be here. This room." "By who?" Amanda pressed, arms crossed. A pause, then calmly. "Arthur." Amanda raised an eyebrow. "Arthur Welling?" The man nodded again. James scoffed. "Sure. Arthur personally invited you to this boardroom meeting, in boots and a janitor's coat." "I'm not here to make a scene," the man said. "Just here to observe." Amanda stepped forward, tone sharpening. "And I'm telling you, this is a private meeting. You're not on the invite list. We have nothing to observe yet, and frankly, no time for distractions." The man's eyes lingered on hers, steady and unreadable. Then he looked around the room. No one met his gaze. With a small nod, he turned and walked out, unhurried, not the least bit embarrassed. The glass doors closed behind him. An intern muttered, "Who let that guy in?" James looked at Amanda. "Security is slipping." "Probably some confused contractor," Amanda said, but her voice was thinner than usual. Still, within seconds, the attention shifted back to numbers, projections, polish. The janitor was forgotten. They gathered at the table. James, Amanda, the CFO, department heads, a few rising stars, and the CEO's assistant, Mara, who kept glancing at her phone. Everyone was waiting for Arthur Welling. Amanda rehearsed silently again. Her fingers tapped anxiously against the tablet. "This is it," whispered Vanessa, a marketing director. "You think he's really bringing in someone that big?" "They say this guy doesn't even invest anymore," replied Craig, the legal advisor. "That's how exclusive he is." If we land this deal, Amanda said aloud, James's little empire of silence and overtime collapses. James smiled at her. You're cute when you're nervous. The doors opened. Arthur Welling, the CEO of Harrington and Company, strode in with effortless charisma. He was tall, late 40s, dressed in the kind of suit that said custom tailored without trying too hard. His smile was warm, his tone deceptively casual. Morning, everyone. They straightened in their seats. Amanda noticed something odd. Arthur didn't look excited. He looked preoccupied. I'll keep this short, he said. I know you've all worked hard preparing, and I appreciate the polish, the numbers, the projections. But there's something we need to talk about first. Mara shifted uncomfortably in her seat. Amanda's hand stopped tapping. Arthur looked around the room. Our guest has already been here. A few heads turned. Confused murmurs started. Amanda frowned. You mean, he's early? James added. Where is he now? Arthur's eyes narrowed and his voice hardened just a touch. You sent him away. The room froze. What? Amanda asked. I sent no one away, James said, defensive. Arthur gave a humorless smile. He walked into this room quietly, respectfully. He asked to observe, and you laughed at him, mocked him, dismissed him. It hit Amanda like a slap. No, she said slowly. You mean that man? That was... Yes, Arthur confirmed. That man. In the boots. The one you assumed didn't belong. Silence. No one moved. Even the interns froze, eyes darting. Amanda's face drained of colour. Why didn't he introduce himself? He did, Arthur said sharply. You just weren't listening. The silence deepened into something heavier, shame-laced, accusatory. James leaned forward. Why the hell would a man worth millions walk in here looking like a janitor? Arthur turned to him. Because he's not looking to invest in appearances. He's looking to invest in people, and he wanted to know who we really are before he handed us anything. His voice rang out in the stillness. Amanda felt her pulse in her ears. All her preparation, all her ambition, wasted in a moment of arrogance. Arthur walked to the head of the table and sat down slowly. Then he said the words that sent chills through the room. He said he'll be back in 10 minutes. No one spoke. Not really. They shifted, murmured, cleared throats. But silence had settled like smoke, thick, uncomfortable, and impossible to escape. The man they had dismissed was the investor, and he was coming back. Amanda's mind raced, cycling through excuses, deflections, apologies she might need. Her heart pounded, a sharp metronome against the sinking feeling in her chest. Across the table, James's usual cool was cracking. His fingers drummed anxiously, his jaw set tighter than usual. Arthur Welling sipped from his mug and said nothing. He didn't need to. Is this a test? Craig asked. Arthur looked up. Yes, and you failed. The glass door clicked open, and there he was again. Same boots, same worn jacket, same quiet composure. He stepped inside as if he owned the air in the room. No one laughed this time. He walked slowly to the seat at the end of the table, the one left empty out of some unspoken fear, and sat down. Silence. Arthur rose slightly. Everyone, allow me to reintroduce our guest, Mr. Elijah Carter, founder of Carter Equity Partners, architect of 3 IPOs, mentor to some of the most successful startups of the last 20 years. Amanda's mouth went dry. James swallowed hard. Carter nodded to Arthur. No need to fuss. Let's just talk. His voice, though calm, held an unmistakable edge now, like silk wrapped around a blade. I've read your projections, Carter began. Your pitch decks, your risk models. Very impressive. On paper. A few people perked up, hopeful. But I wasn't interested in your paper. Hope deflated. I came early on purpose, wanted to see the real culture, the people behind the Polish, because money follows character, or runs from it. He let the words hang. Then his eyes moved slowly, person to person. Vanessa, Craig, James, Amanda. You, he said, nodding at Craig. You walked past me without looking, twice, even when I said good morning. Your company lawyer, ignoring a stranger in your office without even asking a question. That's legally risky, isn't it? Craig's face flushed red. You, Carter continued, now turning to Vanessa. I asked you where the restroom was. You pointed, then turned around and whispered to someone. I saw the smirk. Vanessa opened her mouth, then closed it again. He looked at James. You were the loudest, confident, dismissive, quick to remind everyone of status. James straightened. With all due respect, Mr. Carter, how were we supposed to know who you were? You weren't, Carter said coolly. That was the point. He turned to Amanda and paused. You surprised me, he said. Amanda tensed. You're smart, sharp. You had questions in your eyes, but you silenced them. Why? Amanda hesitated. Because I didn't want to look foolish. He nodded. Interesting. Then leaned back. You see, I've been doing this for decades, investing in businesses, watching people. And the one thing that never fails is this. People reveal themselves when they think no one important is watching. His voice dropped, rich with warning. I always watch. No one dared check their phones. I came here because your numbers were promising, Carter said. But I stay, or walk, based on integrity. Arthur sat forward, his expression unreadable. Carter tapped his notebook lightly, the old cover thudding against the table. You have gaps. In culture, leadership, empathy. He looked at James again. You run your department like a fear factory. Your people are burnt out. You call it pressure. I call it poor management. James said nothing, jaw tight. Then Carter turned to Amanda. You have talent, but you're climbing so fast you don't see who you're stepping on. You want to lead? Start by listening. Amanda looked down, shame flushing her face. Carter stood slowly. Leadership isn't performance, it's presence. It's what you do when no one's looking. Arthur cleared his throat. Elijah, he said cautiously, does this mean you're walking away? Carter paused, thinking. Number not yet. The room exhaled. But I don't invest in rot, he continued. So, I'm going to make changes. Right here. Right now. He looked at James. You're done. The room snapped alert. James blinked. What? You're fired. Effective immediately. Security will walk you out. James stood, half laughing. This is absurd. You can't. Arthur! Arthur nodded once. Security was already at the door. James stood motionless for a beat, then barked a humorless laugh and stormed out, knocking over a chair. The door closed behind him. Silence. Carter turned to Amanda. You're not off the hook. I understand, she said softly. Good, because I'm offering you a choice. She looked up. Lead this division, or leave it. Amanda blinked. What? I believe in potential. I think you can change, but only if you stop trying to be clever and start being accountable. She nodded slowly. Carter turned to the room. I'll be overseeing this company's evolution, personally, and I'll be watching. His eyes landed one last time on Amanda. This wasn't a prank. It was a mirror. Elijah Carter walked out, the same way he came in, quiet, calm, and sure of himself. Amanda sat in the stunned aftermath, feeling like the wind had been knocked from her. Arthur rose. You heard the man. We're under new scrutiny now. Get used to it. People filed out slowly. Amanda remained. Something had shifted in her. Something deeper than embarrassment. It felt like awakening. She thought about how she'd looked at Carter the first time, how little she saw, and how clearly he had seen her. The sun had begun its descent, casting golden streaks through the floor-to-ceiling windows. The 27th floor was quieter now. Most of the staff had gone, though the tension still clung to the walls like fog. Amanda sat alone in the break room, a coffee gone cold in front of her. Her blazer was draped on the chair, hair slightly undone, as if she'd just returned from a battle she hadn't known she was fighting. And in a way, she had. She replayed the morning 100 times. That moment Carter had looked at her, not with anger, but with disappointment, like a teacher who expected more. She didn't know which was worse. Footsteps approached. Arthur Welling leaned against the doorway, his expression softer than usual. "He doesn't make idle threats," he said. "I know." "He'll hold you accountable." Amanda nodded. "I want him to." Arthur tilted his head, studying her. "This morning, I wasn't sure. But now, I think you might be exactly what this place needs." "I'm not?" Arthur raised an eyebrow. "I'm not what it was," she clarified. "But maybe I can be what it should have been." Arthur smiled faintly. "That's a start." A new energy pulsed through Harrington and Company. The storm had passed, but the air still crackled. James's office was already cleared out. His name scraped off the glass. Rumours buzzed around the building like flies, but Amanda didn't engage. She was too busy. Her calendar had shifted. Less showtime, more real time. One-on-ones, department check-ins, listening, not pretending to listen. That morning she stood at the window of her new office, the one James used to command like a throne. But it didn't feel like power. It felt like a responsibility. She pulled out her phone and opened the memo she'd drafted late the night before. A personal message to her team, explaining the changes, inviting them to speak freely. Then she did something she'd never done before. She deleted the buzzwords. She wrote plainly, truthfully. A knock. Amanda looked up. "Come in." Elijah Carter entered, looking the same as before. No suit, same boots, same jacket. Amanda stood quickly. "Mr. Carter, call me Elijah." He sat without being asked. "I've been watching," he said simply. Amanda nodded, unsure whether to be proud or nervous. "You're trying. That matters." "I want this company to mean something," Amanda said. "Not just numbers, not just margins." Carter smiled. "Then we start from the ground up." He reached into his coat and pulled out a file. "Read this." Amanda opened it. Her eyes widened. "You want to implement a mentorship program for every executive, paired with someone at the bottom rung, janitors, mailroom staff, interns." Amanda blinked. "You're serious?" "I'm always serious," she read further. It wasn't just a shadowing exercise, it was full integration. A reversal of roles. Executives would spend entire days shadowing entry-level workers, listening, learning. Amanda looked up. "Some people will hate this. Then we'll know who they really are." He stood to leave. At the door, he paused. "You made a mistake," he said. Amanda swallowed. "I know." "That's not the problem. The problem would have been pretending you didn't." He left without another word. The office buzzed with rumours again. The mentorship program leaked. Executives muttered, some protested. But Amanda stood firm. She had Carter's backing. More importantly, she believed in it now. And then something unexpected happened. One by one, the younger staffers started stepping forward. "I'll mentor." "Happy to participate?" Finally. The culture began to shift. Not because of top-down rules, but because someone at the top finally listened. Amanda found herself staying late again, not to claw her way higher, but to build something better. She thought of Carter's words often. This wasn't a prank. It was a mirror. The boardroom looked different now. Gone were the stiff leather chairs. In their place, mixed seating, round table style. No head of the table. At Carter's request. Amanda stood before her team. No slides this time. Just presence. 2 weeks ago we were tested, she began. Not by numbers or investors, but by something more important. Character. The room was quiet. "I failed that test," she said. A murmur rippled. "But I learned from it. And I've spent every day since trying to earn back what I didn't know I had lost." She looked around the room. "I can't promise we'll be perfect, but I can promise we'll be real. And if we lead with humility, we'll be the kind of company worth investing in." At the back of the room, Carter nodded silently. Amanda introduced Elijah Carter as keynote speaker. This time, no one laughed when he walked on stage in work boots. He spoke for 20 minutes. told them the real story of how he built his empire, not through suits and deals, but through janitor jobs, security gigs, and graveyard shifts. He didn't inherit power, he survived into it. And he reminded everyone in the room that empathy wasn't charity. It was wisdom. That respect shouldn't have to be earned by status. And that the greatest investments he ever made weren't in companies. They were in people who surprised him. People like Amanda Crane. When he finished, the standing ovation lasted almost 3 minutes. Harrington and Company looked different. The glass still shimmered, the deals still closed, but the soul of the place had changed. Amanda's name now echoed with respect, not fear. The mentorship program became a case study in transformation. Other companies copied it. Carter even mentioned it on Bloomberg. James Temple never came back. Last anyone heard, he'd taken a consultant gig overseas. Fewer people missed him than expected. As for Amanda, she often arrived early now, not for power, for presence. One morning, she passed by a janitor mopping the lobby. She stopped. "Good morning," she said, smiling. The man looked up, startled, then smiled back. "Good morning, ma'am." "No need for ma'am, just Amanda." He nodded. As she stepped into the elevator, she turned one last time. "I'm glad you're here," she said. And for the first time, she really meant it. The end.